The house placement of Chiron in Synastry is very subtle, yet it has a powerful effect on how we perceive our relationship and our own vulnerability. It does not function like traditional planets that indicate behavior or events. Chiron always activates areas of wound awareness, healing, and self-knowledge. The house shows the life area where the house person becomes vulnerable, or where the potential for healing lies. Chiron does not attack directly, it does not criticize, but its presence activates emotions. If Chiron forms an aspect with the house person's personal planets, Sun, Moon, Venus, Mars, Ascendant, the dynamic becomes stronger. Often, it does not directly affect the current relationship, but rather activates the house person's past wounds, early caregivers, childhood experiences, or previous relationships. Chiron in the first house, the crack in the mirror of identity. The house person may feel that the Chiron person sees what they are trying to hide. There is no direct criticism, rather, an existential sensitivity. The mere presence of the Chiron person has an effect. Here, the dynamic often revolves around the question, who am I, really? The house person may begin to question their own roles and masks. This can initiate a deep process of self-discovery, or trigger defensiveness. If Chiron falls close to the ascendant, the impact becomes highly visible, even to the outside world. Chiron in the second house, the quiet activation of self-worth. This is not a dramatic house, but one of foundational security. Chiron here does not necessarily bring open conflict, but rather a subtle sense of uncertainty. The house person may become more sensitive to what they give and what they receive. Money or material matters are often just the surface. The real issue is, am I enough to be loved? If the ruler of the house is wounded in the natal chart, the effect can be stronger. Chiron in the third house, rewriting the narrative. The house person's thinking patterns come into the spotlight. The presence of the Chiron person can reveal where an inner story has become distorted. Here, the wounds often stem from childhood communication. The relationship may offer a new model of communication, but only if the house person is willing to let go of the old narrative. Chiron in the fourth house, the destabilization of the emotional foundation. This is one of the deepest placements. The house person's emotional foundation becomes activated. The Chiron person does not primarily affect the present relationship, but the past. Emotions may surface that are not truly connected to the partner, but to early caregivers. If the IC is involved, the dynamic becomes highly intimate and often carries a karmic tone. Chiron in the fifth house, the question of lovability. The house person's romantic self-expression becomes vulnerable. The issue is not necessarily the stability of the relationship, but the act of self-revelation. If I truly show myself, will I still be loved? This house is strongly ego-sensitive. If Chiron forms an aspect to Venus, the dynamic becomes intensified. Chiron in the sixth house, the activation of perfectionism. Here, Chiron enters the functional system of the house person's life. The house person may become more sensitive to criticism or expectations. The feeling of I'm not doing it well enough often emerges. The wound is brought to the surface through small, everyday details rather than dramatic events. This house becomes deeply significant when themes of health or service are also involved. Chiron in the seventh house, the fracture in the relationship archetype. Here, Chiron touches the house person's relationship pattern. The partner's presence activates earlier attachment wounds. The core issue is not a specific conflict, but that the house person begins to see the concept of relationship through a different lens. If Chiron is close to the descendant, this can become a highly defining relationship. Chiron in the eighth house, shadow and transformation. This is one of the most intense positions. The house person's unconscious fears, need for control, and intimacy wounds become activated. Chiron here does not bring superficial pain, but deep psychological material. The relationship can become a healing initiation, or it may feel overwhelming, leading to defensiveness. If Pluto is also involved, the dynamic is significantly amplified. Chiron in the ninth house, the fracture in the structure of belief. The house person's worldview becomes subtly destabilized. The Chiron person can bring a new perspective, but at the same time, uncertainty about the meaning of life may surface. This is often a relationship of spiritual growth, though it is not always comfortable. Chiron in the 10th house, awareness of social role. The house person becomes more sensitive to how they perform and how others perceive them. Chiron here can highlight where performance is tied to self-worth. If the MC is involved, the relationship may also influence the direction of their career. Chiron in the 11th house, vision and social identity. The house person begins to reflect on where they are headed and to whom they belong. The Chiron person can reveal past disappointments in friendships or group situations. This is less about romance and more about identity on a broader, social level. Chiron in the 12th house, unconscious integration. Here, the dynamic is difficult to put into words. The house person may experience feelings that cannot be tied to any specific event. Chiron can activate repressed pain, old losses, and spiritual questions. This placement works best when both individuals engage in conscious self-awareness and personal growth.